Hello, everybody. It is time for the third day of Checkly's second launch week. And I am super excited to have you all around again when we at Checkly share all the good stuff that we've been working on over the last few months. So, as you see it on the screen, it is time to launch. And let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Stefan. I'm part of Checkly's developer relations team. And before we get started, same procedure as yesterday, let me kick things out with a little bit of housekeeping. So we want you to be part of this session. So if you have questions, comments, feedbacks, I'm reading the chat on the side and I'm trying to answer everything in line if there are questions. And we would love to see some good vibes over in the chat where you're watching this live stream. And I want to kick things off with a question, which is, what is your favorite dad joke or dev pun? And same as yesterday, I'm kicking things off. So are you ready? I'm ready to go into the corner because it is pretty bad. So why is my keyboard always tired? Because it always has two shifts. And with that, because I do think that this one is pretty bad. If you're joining in and you haven't heard of Checkly, Checkly allows you to build and run synthetic monitoring that scales. But what does it mean? If you're building APIs that are publicly available or you want to monitor your own APIs, you can use our API checks to make sure that your APIs are up and running, that they're fast enough, that they're responding with the correct data when people are calling them. So you can make sure that all your APIs are up and running and are good to go. And if you're building a website or a product, you can use our browser checks and control headless Chrome using Playwright to make sure that your essential user flows are up and running and working. And actually, last week, we have hit a major milestone. So far, we've run over 5 billion check runs, which boils down to 4.5 billion API checks and 0.5 browser checks. And don't be misled by the zero here. This still means that we controlled headless Chrome 500 million times to check essential and critical user flows. And I think this is just mind-boggling, huge number. And we at Checkly are off to the next 5 billion. So let's see when we will hit the next milestone. And this launch week is packed with good stuff. So on Monday, we talked about monitoring as code, which all circles around our Checkly CLI. So Tim and Chris were there and we live demoed how this new workflow is supposed to work. Yesterday, I had Jan with me and we shared why we think Playwright is the best tool out there to do end-to-end monitoring. Today, we're going to talk about public dashboards and our new analytics API. And tomorrow, Daniel will join me and we're going to talk SOC 2 compliance and share how we run Checkly as a company and why security standards are very important to us, and that we're now SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, and there will be lots of puns, lots of SOCs. So we're making a little bit of fun, and I'm looking forward to that session, actually. But let me do a very quick recap. Monitoring as code, this is the theme of this week's launch week. And what does that actually mean? So we released our new Checkly CLI, which is now in beta, and it allows you to define all your monitoring and testing resources, let it be browser checks, API checks, alerts, groups, all in code next to your application code. And then if you're close to deploy to production and you prepare a preview environment, or you want to check that all your changes are working properly, you can now use npx Checkly test to make sure that what you've been developing is working accordingly. And once you deploy to production, you can right after that update all your monitoring setup in Checkly so that you can start monitoring and make sure that everything also works properly in production. And to celebrate monitoring as code, we are doing a home office makeover. If the Checkly CLI and monitoring as code sounds interesting to you and you want to give it a try anyways, join the home office makeover. All you have to do is give the CLI a try, let us know what you think of it, give us feedback, and if it is a public project, add a GitHub README badge to this project and let us know. We're giving away one item worth $500 US, let it be a chair, keyboard, headphones, microphone, whatever you need really in your home office to one lucky person. And I'm having my eyes on one of these walking pads for a while. So this person could be you. So make sure to check out our home office makeover, which is all about monitoring Xcode and this launch week. And with that, we already made it into today's session. Today, we're going to talk about our new public dashboards and our new analytics API. And I'm super excited to bring in my first guest here today. And this is Pilar. Pilar, how is life? Can you tell me what you're doing at Checkly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Pilar. I'm a software developer at Checkly, and I've been working on dashboards since the beginning of the project, so I can't wait to show it to you because I think it's a really interesting one.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining here today. I have a first question, though. We already had public dashboards. So I joined a year ago, and we had public dashboards. Why did we invest into building new dashboards?
Basically, over the last few years, many customers asked us to update our public dashboards with new features so they can communicate more effectively with their customers. We took some notes about that and created a new version of dashboards with many new and interesting features. For example, the incidents one that I'm going to show you in a minute.
Cool. I cannot wait to see what you've been working on. So should we just give it a try and plug away and be transparent about my Checkly account here that currently has four checks in it. So what should I do?
First of all, you have to go to the sidebar. In the fourth icon, you will see dashboards. Then you can just click on the create button. And you can create a dashboard really fast by just changing the title and adding a description. Since we are not using any tags there, you will see all your checks in your dashboard.
Can I go ahead and just create it very quickly?
Yes.
All right, so let's create this new dashboard, and let's have a look where it pops up. Sweet. So here we have our 4 checks. What else do we see?
There you can see all your checks with their corresponding check results. Also, you have a time range selector where you can select the duration that you want to show. And on the header, you will also see a summary that will keep your customers updated on the general status of your checks and show if everything is working properly or not.
So that is a quick way. Does that mean when now one of these checks has any issues that I can just have to look in the top right corner to see what's up?
Yes, we have 3 status. One is all checks are failing, some checks are failing, and all checks are passing.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely think that is very handy, because if I would have a lot of checks in there, I probably don't want to scroll through everything to see if everything is green. But I noticed when I loaded this thing, right, this new dashboard that we just created here, it is actually pretty snappy. So can I ask what you built it with?
Yeah, first of all, our legacy or previous dashboards were living inside of our main Checkly application. So now we are running them as a separate application and using a separate domain for that. We even changed our tech stack. New dashboards are built with Nuxt.js 3 using the universal rendering capabilities and hosted in Vercel using the domains API to properly handle the custom domains. And also, public dashboards are now fully responsive, so you can see them on your computer, TV, phone, or any screen that you want.
Yeah, that is definitely very, very handy, because I was just discussing last week with someone and they told me, hey, how can I check all my checks on the go, because I don't want to log in all the time. So you could just then bookmark this URL and you can get a quick overview about what is going on. And honestly, as you know, I'm also kind of like a JavaScript app person, and Nuxt 3 universal rendering, this sounds like a pretty fun project. I would have loved to join that one. But let me ask you, right now I have 4 checks in my account and I might have 20, 100, 1,000. How can I control what is actually shown in these dashboards?
First of all, you have to add a tag on your checks. And if you already have checks with a tag, you can just add the tag on the edit screen of the dashboards.
Cool. So I know that I have already, oh, nice. auto completion here. So we have two checks that have the public tag, and I see that I can control that with and or, and I can just hit save, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. So let's refresh and get our not public checks here out of this result. I think this looks good. Our flow to docs works, our flow to sign up works. But while I was adding the tags, I already saw something that was literally screaming at me with a new button. So what is this about?
That's a new feature that we introduced. It's incidents. Basically, it was a very requested feature. And now we allow you to inform your customers about your incidents. And to start, we can just create one if you want.
I sure do. So we now turned on incidents, and I can totally see that that can be very valuable for people that use it as status pages for the APIs or something. So let's create one. What do we have here?
Then you can just change the title and select the impact. We have minor, major, and maintenance. And then you also have the status of the incident that you can, of course, change later and update it.
Okay, let me just tell the world that something very, very bad happened and create this incident. Is that immediately available?
Yeah, you can just refresh and you will see it.
Well, that looks very, very scary. But I think it's nice that it's also shown in the top area.
Yeah, it's the same as the summary on the checks.
So, and I see this incident is now on top of the page. Do we keep track of previous incidents, or how does that go?
Yeah, on the bottom of the dashboard, you will see a history where you can see all the checks. Doesn't matter in which status they are, if they are resolved or they are still active, you will see them there.
I think this can definitely be handy to kind of show a little bit of history over there. What do you think? Should we resolve our major we're down incident? I think it's bugging me a little bit that we have this huge red box over here. So let me just go here and let's say resolved. All cool. Let me just do this. All right, resolved and good to go. I think it looks very pretty and funny here. Nice. Official communication is probably a little bit more serious, but there's a thing over here. So we now created this dashboard, and it is available at 7357E3EC.checkly-dashboards.com. Can we tweak this?
Yes, of course. You have to go to the edit dashboard screen again. And there you will see an input under Checkly URL where you can just change the URL.
Cool. So what should we go for? Let's go with launch week. I like that it's checking if the subdomain is available. Yeah. I think that's cool that it's doing that in line.
So luckily, it's available.
Luckily, it is available. Okay, now we have a newer URL. So let me just open that one up. I think this is already pretty cool. It looks already a little bit like home, right? We defined our own subdomain here. We defined what we have in there. But what if I now would like to make it really my own thing? How could I style that to my choosing if I'm a company, for example, or running my own business?
You mean the domain?
Yeah, let's do the domain.
Okay, you can change it to a custom domain, and it's really easy. Thanks to Vercel, you can just put your domain there and you will use it.
Cool, but I also see there's a look and feel section going forward. What is that about?
There you can just tweak your dashboard as much as you want. We can start with a logo and a fab icon.
Okay, I have something prepared here for us. So let's try these. Then we also have custom CSS part. What is that about?
Yeah, that's also a new feature for paid plans where you can just add styles to the custom CSS to make it fully branded. You can use our predefined classes to do that and change it as much as you want.
So we promise the people using that to never touch these classes again.
Yeah.
And is there additional information on how to go with the styling? Where should people go to learn more about this?
You can just go to the docs and you will see all the information there. And also we have some examples if you need some ideas or inspiration.
Yeah, we have here like an AWS one. And here we have like Elena one. So this pretty much looks pretty on brand. I think I like that. We did prepare something else though, because I heard you're a very talented dashboard styler. Should we just give your CSS a try?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's save that. Get ready, people, for something very, very pretty. And, oh.
My masterpiece.
This is your masterpiece. But I do think, so we have here custom fluff icon, we have a custom logo, and you can really style everything that you want using the predefined classes that we have in this Next 3 application. Well, Pili, I think we made it.
Yeah.
We just showed the public dashboards. I think this was super, super, super cool. Do you want to plug anything before I bring in Nawel to talk more about data?
Yes, I want to thank you all for watching. And if you have any feedback or any comments that you want to share, you can do it on the Slack community, or also you can create comment in the public roadmap and we will see it there. If you have any cool custom CSS that you want to share, I'll be happy to see it in the Slack community too.
Same, absolute same. I would love to see more super pretty dashboards. Well, thank you, Pili, so much for joining. I think that was very, very nice. And we talked to each other in Slack. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And with this, our new public dashboard, they're configurable, they are stylable, they look pretty, as you just saw. But what happens if you already have some systems in place to monitor, for example, your databases, or you want to get Checkly data into a third-party tool? Well, for that, we have a new API endpoint. And the person that was working on that one is Nawel. Nawel, welcome to Checkly Launch Week. How is life, my friend? And what did you work on?
Hey, Stefan. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here presenting the results of the last month work. I'm a software developer at Checkly, and I'm working in a team full of excellent colleagues. So I'm happy to be here.
And we are very excited to have you around. So I already teased it a little bit, right? So you've been working on the Analytics API. So how can people learn about the new Analytics API, and how can people plug Checkly data into their own monitoring stack?
Well, you will have a new category, analytics category, in our documentation in checklyhq.com/docs/analytics. And there you will see a detailed description of a new RESTful API, which lets you fetch information about your check results. And as you can see there, you can consume the Analytics API using some helpful attributes, and will allow you to quickly query and aggregated metrics or non-aggregated data.
Yeah, I know that this is pretty important. So can you just tell me and the people watching, what is aggregated and non-aggregated data in our Checkly Analytics API about?
Sure. Aggregated data means the metrics values are obtained by using some operations over multiple checks, or over multiple check results. An example of that could be, for example, give me the response time average and the availability for the last 24 hours. And non-aggregated means that the results are raw data. So each data point means a single check result. So, for example, it could be something like give me the last time to first byte values for the last month.
So that means, so aggregated would be time to first byte average over a certain time period, whereas time to first byte as non-aggregated would mean 10 results, raw data, whatever exactly I want to do with it. I think this is all pretty cool. And the Analytics API is actually not just a single API, it is 3 API endpoints. Can you walk me through what these do?
Yeah, sure. The first one is /metrics or /analytics/metrics. And this gives you all the available metrics for a specific check type. We have API check and browser check. So you must specify the check type you want to query. So there you will have, for example, the 99 percentile, the response time, all the average about the DNS, the resolve time, and lots of available metrics.
Yeah, I can totally see that. For example, I did a little bit of data visualization in the past, right? And usually it becomes fairly painful at some point because you have some API endpoint and then you want to have some select boxes, you want to treat graphs, right? You want to dive into data because that's the purpose of data viz. And I always struggled with that because we had a lot of config files that were saying, okay, these metrics are available, but you're pretty much saying that we have an endpoint for that. And this endpoint will tell us, well, this is available to query, and then everybody can build whatever they want.
Exactly. This is the goal for this endpoint. For example, it's helpful to build some UI components and feed a select box, for example. And then you will see two more endpoints, the API, the /analytics /API checks and /analytics /browser checks, which are the endpoints that you must consume or request to get the data.
Mm-hmm. And
we decided to separate the endpoints, and the reason is because that helps us to simplify and to structure the request query parameters. For instance, we were able to restrict the metrics and group by attribute for a particular check type. So and always return an output with a known attribute in the output.
Yeah, I can totally see that decision, right? It's typical problem in software engineering or programming, right? We're always looking for the perfect sweet spot in abstracting something away, right? But I found in the past that, okay, let's unify these classes, let's unify these services and make them configurable in general at some point. But sometimes this is fighting back, right? Because it becomes a little bit tricky. So I totally see what you did here by splitting these two API endpoints, because the results can vary quite a little bit here. So, but I think, should we have a look? Should we make some HTTP calls, get some data out? Where should I go?
Yeah, sure. At your top left, you will have the API references. Here, you will have information about all our public API endpoints. And there is a category called analytics. And there you will have the 3 endpoints for the analytics API. So we can go to the /metrics, for example, and there you will see that you must authenticate yourself by using your API key and your account ID, and then you will have to set or configure or maybe use the parameter check type to specify which are the metrics you want to fetch.
Yeah. So for the people watching, so if you're not live on the internet, you can really fill out your account ID and your Checkly API token. We are, though, live on the internet right now. So we have prepared some snippets, and we're going to do some curls to show you what is coming back from these endpoints to not be bad internet citizens and leak tokens live on YouTube. So let me head over to my terminal. Let me clear that up, and let's have a look at what is coming back. So I have here an API call that goes, as you described, against analytics /metrics, and we're asking for all the metrics for the API check type and the results for these. So let's have a look. What do we got here?
So you received a list of all the available metrics for the check type or for the API checks. So you will see that we have the aggregated and non-aggregated. It's identified by the flag aggregated, and then you will have the name of the metric, which is the name you must use when you are fetching the results. And you have additional attributes or properties for the unit and the type of the metric. Also, you have a label if you want to create some kind of component with user-readable information, you can use the label.
Yeah, I can totally see how useful this can be, right? I can absolutely imagine myself writing a quick Vue or React component to fill a select box with that, right? Because it has all the information I need. It has a unit, it has a label, it has a type even. I think it's just beautiful. But you mentioned now, and we talked about aggregated and non-aggregated. Does it actually matter too much when I fetch the data?
Yes, it's important. As we decided to keep separated the browser checks from the API checks, to keep response output clear and easily to be parsed, we also decided you cannot mix aggregated and non-aggregated metrics in the same request. This is helpful when you are integrating an API with a graphical tool like maybe Grafana or another graphical tool, where you will have to get strict structure response, having the aggregated time series somewhere, for example. If we would have mixed aggregated with non-aggregated, we would have add an extra object in the response payload. This would require you to parse it with some conditional asking the type of metric you are receiving.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we will see in just a moment that we are accessing quite a little bit of data, right? And it's already a pretty heavily nested object. And I think an obvious output or easily to parse output is, I think, preferred. So I think I also agree with the decision that we took here. And also from a development perspective, I think it's actually reasonable, right? One way is asking for raw data points, and the other one is doing some calculations, right, for an average over a certain time frame or something. So I think that actually makes sense. And if you know this limitation or this rule for accessing data, I think this is actually pretty reasonable. But should we get on and fetch some data?
Let's go for it.
Cool. So let me go back to the browser checks.
Okay. So there you will also, as it is the public API, sorry, you must authenticate yourself with your credentials, and you must have a check ID to indicate which is the check you want to use. And then you will have a list of query parameters you can use from the to specify the period you want to use. And also you have a quick range attribute with some presets where you can find, for example, the last 24 hours or the last 7 days. And then you have the aggregation interval. Maybe we can see an example later, but you can define the period you want to use to reduce the aggregation in minutes. And then you have the filter by status property, which let you filter the check results in success or failure. And then you will have a group by attribute to specify a new dimension to organize your data.
Yeah, I see. When would I use the filter by status? When does that make sense? For example, if I want to check, we're now here in the browser check context, and I want to get first contentful paint, right? Does filter by status play a role there?
Yes, but I think it's a better example to, let's think in something like you want to have the response time average for the last hour in an API check. You probably want to reduce the noise and discard all these failed check results. Normally, a request that is returning a 500 status code finish faster than a successful request. So it would be better to exclude them to get a more realistic average response time.
Yeah, that does actually make a lot of sense, right? If I want to measure, especially these performance-driven metrics, a 500 can be pretty quick, right? And what would be another use case for the group by? So we are here now in the browser checks. When would I use, for example, page index?
Yes, this attribute is an optional attribute, but for browser checks with multiple navigations, the group by is very powerful because it allows you to obtain metrics organized by a new attribute you specify. It's like a new dimension within the series you got.
I see, but I think there is a lot of stuff going on, right? And we still miss the metrics part, right? We can still add some metrics here.
Yes, exactly. And one good news is that you can use multiple metrics per request. So you can set all the aggregated or non-aggregated metrics you want in one request, and you will receive the values for all of them.
It is indeed super duper flexible, right? I can really fetch whatever I want here. Should we give it a try?
Sure, let's go.
Cool. So let me copy another snippet. We will have a look at what this actually includes. So we have here, we're going against analytics browser check. Here we have a browser check that I have running. And you see here that we are accessing the data the last 24 hours. We only want successful check results. And we are asking for first contentful paint, total blocking time, and network errors. Are you good to go, Noah?
Okay.
So what do we get?
Okay, at the top, you will receive some check properties, like some flags, like activated or mute, the frequency of the check. And also, you can see, for example, there you have a from and the to. You used quick range, but the quick range was transformed to a from and a to. So you will have the exact timestamp of the beginning and the end of the period. You will have the tags of the check, and then you have a series array, a list, where you will receive the series. In this case, as we are not using group by or aggregation interval, we have only one series, and inside of each series, you will get all the data points for the results. So as we are using non-aggregated metrics, we are getting the data points, and each data point is a query. It's a check result. So you will have all the data from your checks result. There is no aggregation or summarized data.
I see. And we have two results in here because this browser check has two navigations included in it.
Exactly. We have two page URLs there and one FTP per page.
Yeah, I think this is very reasonable. I think it's also very nice that we get these at the end so that I can build my fancy graphs. I think that's
exactly.
good.
We decided to add the metadata there because only with one request, you can grab all the information to build some user-readable or user-friendly output. For example, if you want to notify something or to show the information in a report, you can use these labels that are very nice.
For sure. I like it that all these kind of things are tying together nicely, right? So if I would now plug that into another system, I don't have the right config files. The API gives me all the options. The API gives me all the labels. I think this is pretty nice. Can we have a look at an aggregated example? Do things change when we aggregate? So we have prepared another one. So what we have here is, again, the same browser check, quick range lasts 24 hours, filter by status success. But here we now have different metrics. So we have first contentful paint, average. We have the time to total blocking time average, and everything is aggregated. So explain me what we get back now.
Okay, so there you will receive only one series because also we are not using group by or aggregation interval. And as we are not splitting or we are not grouping the information, we have only one value with the aggregated data or summarized data or metrics value using all the period. So we are not using any type of dimension to split the data.
So the aggregation really happens over the entire duration of our from to.
Exactly.
Man, that was a pretty snappy response though. How could we good job, Noah, good job. How can we split that into different data points, right? If we now, for example, ask for data, what do we have last 24 hours? And I would like to have an hourly breakdown of these aggregations. How would I do that?
Yes, we can use the aggregation interval attribute to specify the minutes we want to use on each data point summarized metric value. So for example, as we are using 24 hours, I guess, yes, 24 hours, you can split the data, for example, using aggregation interval in 60, which is an hour, and there you will receive 24 data points.
Here we go. So let's check that one out. I think this is pretty cool. This is super flexible. So we can really kind of control the time window of the data that is coming back.
Exactly. And this is very helpful if you are using like a Grafana dashboard, where you can adjust the interval of the data points. And you can see that we add an attribute inside each data point, which is the period. And this is like is the beginning of the interval we are using. It's like an output of a time series database.
Yeah. I mean, I have to keep track somehow on the data points that I get back, right? Because otherwise, how would I graph all this stuff? It would become a little bit tricky. All right, we're almost through it. You already mentioned the group by property. Should we also have a very quick look at this one?
Sure, let's go for it. We can, I don't know if you have a browser check there. We can.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So we have still a browser check. Quick range last 24 hours. Filter by status success. But now I have group by page index. What does that mean?
This means that we are adding a new dimension in the data. So as you can see in the output, you have the series array with a new element. We have, or we should have two elements in the series, one per navigation URL we have in our check. So each page or each navigation will have a list of data points, and that are the ones that are included in the data object.
Yeah, so this could be useful, as we already discussed in this example, right? If I want to get like these metrics here, right? First contentful paint, it might be that we're comparing apples and oranges, right? Let's say I have a navigation that is super fast next to like an add to cart action or something that writes to the database, right? Probably the results are completely different. And with group by, we then are able to split the results and draw some proper graphs and look at the right data.
Exactly. And also, just let me add, you can use, for example, the location as a group by attribute. So, for example, you have an API check, you want to know how it responds in different regions. So you can use the group by location to grab this separated data.
We will have a look at this a little bit later when we look at an actual dashboard here, but you already dropped API checks. All the things that we just did for a browser check, right? Where we use the API endpoint, what was it? /analytics/browser check. The same things apply to API checks, right?
The same things, exactly. Yes, we have some particular attributes you can use in an API check, differentiation with the browser check, for example, the TCP time connection, the wait time, the DNS time. So also in the browser check, we have some particular metrics too.
Yeah, I mean, it's both ways, right? And it's exactly what we discussed earlier. Certain things are just not applicable, vice versa. So let's just fire up an example. All the things that we showed here earlier for the browser check example still work. We still have the nice units here that Ben in chat liked so much. And we have the same things working. So you can query array and build whatever you want. But now, well, here's the question. What are people using this API for when they're not like curl heroes like we are here right now?
Yes, in our docs, we have two examples. One is one that we are using in Checkly. At Checkly is a Grafana dashboard. Maybe you can show something later. And then maybe you can use a Google Sheets to create some reports by consuming the API endpoints. We built a template there you can download or copy to obtain all the script you need to consume our our API. You just need to put your credentials, and you will have all the information from our API.
I love it. And you did a good job putting these examples into our docs, right? But you already spoiled here. We do use our analytics API in our own Grafana dashboard. So should we just briefly have a look at what is possible with the analytics API?
Sure, let's go.
Here we go. So what do we see here?
So there you have a Grafana dashboard. All the variables and the charts are fed with queries or requests to our public API. So at the beginning, at the top left, you will have the checklist, which is a simple request to our public API /checks is the endpoint. And then you have two more select box, which each one has the aggregated or non-aggregated metrics available. So to fit this select box, we use the /metrics endpoint to get all the available metrics at the moment. And then you have the interval, which is the aggregation interval you can specify. And of course, you can play with it by changing the period, aggregation interval, or the metrics. And in this dashboard, we have 3 charts, one for aggregated, the other for non-aggregated. This is something that maybe we can talk about.
I broke it, Nawel. I'm sorry, I broke it. What is up?
Yes, but if you put the pointer over you have there a rate limit exceed. So every time we configure a threshold, you must complain, which is the one that indicates that you can request 5 times per 10 seconds. So every time you exceed the threshold, you will receive a 4 to 9 rate limit exceeds error. So it's good that it fails, just to talk about this. And in the third chart, it's a good example to show how the group by could be used. For example, this is an API check where we are using a group by location, and you will get the response time metric differentiated with the location in the chart.
Yeah. So this is the entire thing, right? You have to define what data you're interested in and how you want to visualize and kind of dig deeper into it, right? For this particular use case, we used the group by query parameter because, well, if you're shipping your API globally, it is probably a big deal if someone from the United States, from Australia, from Europe is kind of asking for data there, or if they're how the response times are from region, we provide that. So I think that's a very reasonable thing to group these kind of things. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out what you're looking into, and I'm happy that we provide that.
Yes, exactly.
We have one question from Ben, and I will just quickly answer that in line. So is there an official data source from Checkly for Grafana available? Not yet, but you can go to our public roadmap and propose it, and then we'll have a look if we will focus on that one. Thank you for the great question, Ben. And with that, Nawel, we made it. Thank you so much for demoing that today. I think that was very valuable, very handy, and well, thank you so much for joining today. We see each other in Slack. Thank you very much. Cool. And with that, we made it through today's demo session with Pilar and Nawel. So to do a little summary, with our new public dashboards, you can create, configure, and style your public dashboards to your needs and can be transparent about all your check results, whatever you need to kind of have visualized off with our public dashboards. So you can definitely check that one out. If you want to see how we use our own dashboards, you can always go to statoschecklyhq.com. And as we just showed you, if you want to visualize your check result data in tools like Grafana, Data Studio, whatever you need or use for your own reporting and visualizing of any sort of data, you can use our new analytics API. And I think it's just a very handy way. And especially the fact that all the endpoints are just super nicely working together. This kind of makes me happy because everything works well together. And I think the team, Noel, and the team there working there just did a fantastic job doing that. So the theme of the entire launch week, we want you to code, test, and deploy your entire monitoring setup. If you don't know what that means, on Monday, we release our new Checkly CLI. It is currently in beta. So if you want to check out this session, you can head over to YouTube here in the launch week playlist. It is pretty cool. I promise you that it is kind of the next step for us here at Checkly. And as a little reminder, if you want to check it out, if you play around with it, and you're implementing the Checkly, our new workflow for developers like code, test, and deploy, and you're doing it, let us know about it and have the chance to win a chair, a headphone, a new pair of headphones, a monitor, a fancy keyboard, or whatever you want worth $500 US. Have a look at our Checkly giveaway at chkly.co/giveaway. And if you want to connect with Pili, with me, with Noel, or with all the people at Checkly, trust me, we're a very lovely bunch. We are happy to connect. So you can always go to checklyhq.com/Slack. We are very, very happy to have you around. And with that, we made it through day 3 of our second launch week. Tomorrow, we're going to all talk about security, about SOC 2 compliance. I promise there will be lots of SOC puns. And Daniel, our director of engineering, will share with me what it means that we're SOC 2 type 2 compliance and how we reach that level of security and how we roll at Checkly as a company. And I had a lot of fun here today. So thank you all for joining. And we will see each other tomorrow, same time, same place, talking about security. So thanks everybody for joining. Have a great day.